See, what I found, Sergey, was that all of my patients, no matter how young or old they were, no matter what they were suffering from, whether it was a physical issue or if they were dealing with some kind of physical pain or infertility or asthma or digestive disorders, or if they were dealing with, depression or anxiety or phobias or panic attacks or PTSD or eating disorders or something like that, or some kind of self-sabotage, or if they had been diagnosed with some kind of a disease, I found that they all had something in common. And the one thing that they all had in common was something that I came to call emotional baggage. And there's really nothing new under the sun. I mean, the Chinese knew all about this kind of thing thousands of years ago. They believe that the organs and the glands in the body are frequency generators that generate these energies, these frequencies that we perceive as emotions. And so when I was in school, in chiropractic school, I remember one day in particular, my neurology instructor was talking about the brain and how the brain is a computer. And he was kind of going on and on about it. And I was sitting there thinking, gee, if the brain's really a computer, I wonder if we'll ever, ever, ever have the technology to access that computer. Because if we could ask it questions, and if we could get information out of a person's brain about what is really wrong with them and what they really need, wow, I thought that would be, what a game changer that would be.
The computer programming and the brain programming, they kind of intercept. It's something in common here too.
Well, yeah, exactly. And little did I know that I was going to spend the rest of my professional life doing exactly that, figuring out how to tap into that subconscious mind. And it's really interesting. I mean, if you think about the computers that we're used to, right? Like I'm sitting at my laptop and I've got a keyboard, right? And I've got a screen and I can see things on the screen and I can put in information with the keyboard. So that's the interface, right? It's got a keyboard screen interface. If you look at your phone, you've got a screen, your finger can touch things. So it's like a touchpad interface. The subconscious mind, it doesn't have a screen. And doesn't have a keyboard. But so it's still a computer, but how do we access it? Well, instead of having a screen that shows us messages and things, the body communicates to us, it shows us things through symptoms of some kind. Physical pain, some of the things I talked about, depression, anxiety, etc. All of those things, there are all kinds of symptoms that we experience. That's how the subconscious communicates to us. Well, how do we get more information? How can we ask questions? And how do we interact with that subconscious mind? And we do that through muscle testing. There are different ways of doing it, but muscle testing is a form of biofeedback. So for example, if I were there with you, and if you were to hold your arm out parallel to the floor, and if you were to say, my name is Sergey, if I were to press down on your arm, you'd be strong. If you were to say, my name is Bob, your arm would go down. And so essentially the subconscious mind is a binary computer. You can ask any question that you want, as long as the answer can be returned back from the subconscious mind in the form of strength for yes, or weakness for no. And so it took me a while to really refine this, but it made all the difference in the world in my practice, because I was able to help people get well who had been cast off by the Western medical system and told that there was no help for them at all, ever. And yet they were able to get better. So
basically we have to reprogram ourselves. I don't know, a lot of people have been damaged in their childhood and programmed the wrong way, I would say.
Yeah. Well, what I found was that, first of all, if you think about the conscious and the subconscious, the conscious mind, of course, is where we spend all of our waking hours, right? And we have our relationships, we work our jobs, we receive our abuse, and so on. The subconscious mind is the part of our intelligence that never really shuts down.
Yep.
When you go to sleep at night, the conscious mind shuts off, but the subconscious is always there. The subconscious mind remembers everything you've ever done, every face you've ever seen in a crowd, or everything you've ever eaten or tasted or touched or smelled is all in there in that subconscious mind. And there's a list in there of the things that need to be done for a person to be able to get well. And what I found was that the emotions that we experience normally, and we experience different emotions all the time, every day of our lives, right? And when you start to experience an emotion, what I eventually was able to figure out is that it's almost like like a loop. Okay, when you start to feel an emotion, what's happening is that particular frequency of energy, because everything, like Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency and energy and vibration. And
Yeah.
so, if you think of emotions as being a particular frequency, every emotion is a different frequency. When you start to feel that emotion, it's like you're starting into this loop. And as you start to feel that emotion from whatever has just happened, from something you've seen or something that someone has said or that you've thought or whatever, as you start to feel that emotion, you might feel some physical sensations that go along with that emotion. You might think thoughts that go along with that emotion. And normally, what happens is, as you're going into that loop, usually you will kind of acknowledge that emotion and then allow it to dissipate on its own, and it dissipates its energy. The loop gets closed on that experience, and that experience now is over, and you're ready for the next emotional experience. We do this all the time, every day. But sometimes what happens is when you start to feel an emotion, sometimes that emotion is very powerful. And so the loop gets stuck and the energy becomes suspended in the body. Sometimes an emotion comes up for you and you decide you're not going to allow yourself to feel that emotion and you just bury it. And so that also creates an open loop in the body, and that particular emotional energy now is suspended. And so what I found was that I could identify these emotional energies that were trapped in the body. And by asking questions of the subconscious mind, I could get enough information that I could close the loop on these experiences, even though they might be from 10, 20, 30, 40 years before, even earlier. In fact, sometimes those emotional energies would even be inherited. And so I could close the loop on those as well. And what I found was that it was an absolutely breathtakingly way to help people, because breathtakingly powerful is what I meant to say. I found that it was the single biggest common denominator for everybody that I was working with. Every case of cancer, every disease that people had, there was emotional baggage that was part of that. Sometimes that was the biggest component. Sometimes I think it was the only component. I mean, cancer, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, immune problems, you name it, all kinds of diseases. Every disease process that I've seen in 35 years has had emotional baggage as a component. And so as time went on, I was able to refine this method and make it simpler and simpler and simpler. And then I started teaching it because I thought people need to know how to do this. They don't need me to do this. They can do this themselves. And that's really one of the beautiful things about the emotion code, is that anybody can do it. Kids are doing it and having great success, in fact.
There is a big tendency right now. It's a cancer. There's a lot of cancer amongst young people.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain that? It's emotional cause, it's a body cause, or it's a lifestyle cause?
You know, I have a mnemonic for this, for the actual underlying causes of cancer that I think, in my own experience, have always been true, and it's EPIT, or EPIT. EPIT, E for emotions, okay. P is for parasites, because often they're an underlying cause. I is for infections, because sometimes these chronic infections get into the body, and that's another underlying cause. And then T is toxins, so EPIT. And see, these are things that generally are not really looked at in Western medicine. I mean, if you're diagnosed with cancer, for example, well, Western medicine has ways to deal with it, and they consist of either chemotherapy or radiation. But really, cancer, to me, after all these years as a holistic physician, it's clear to me that cancer is really just the body trying to get a message to you. It's your body saying, hey, there's something wrong. It's another symptom. Really, cancer is just a symptom. Now, the emotion code, the body code, they're not cures for cancer. They're not cures for anything. They're just ways to find the blocks that are in the way of the body's ability to help itself.
Okay, next question is about depression. I noticed a lot of young people are depressed. How can you explain that?
It's really interesting. The biggest development that I have seen, the greatest help for depression that I have seen, the one thing that has made the biggest difference to the most people in my career as a holistic doctor has been to remove the emotional baggage that has become clustered around the heart. And that the heart is a really interesting organ. Back in the 1960s, when doctors started doing heart transplants, they found that sometimes people would come back to them and they would report strange things, like that their taste in music or food or sports totally changed when they got their new heart. Or sometimes they would talk about how they had memories of being in places that they never in their life had ever visited before. And in every case, when these people were connected with the family of the heart donor, they would find out, oh, yes, our daughter loved Rome. It was her favorite city in the world. She visited every chance she got. And now you have memories of being in Rome, but you say you've never in your whole life ever visited Rome? How weird. Those must be her memories. That's so bizarre. There are whole books written about this, of course, as you know, Sergey. And it's called Cellular Memory, right? Well, it's a fascinating thing. The heart, we now know, in fact, they didn't really even discover this until the 1970s, but that the heart has a lot of gray matter and white matter in it. And they call it the little brain in the heart. And so what we believe now is that the brain that's in our heads is obeying the messages that are being sent by the brain that is in our hearts. Well, what we found was that sometimes if you feel like your heart is going to break, your subconscious mind will start to put up a wall around your heart. And that wall is made of layers of your emotional baggage. And so when we start to remove that emotional baggage, things change for people, things shift for people. People fall in love who sometimes never thought they ever would fall in love. People have creative ideas that start to flow spontaneously. And so the other thing is that depression is, in my experience, is largely, not always, but usually a byproduct of this wall. So your heart really is everything the ancients believed it to be. Ancient societies, going back to the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, they believed the heart was the seat of the soul and the source of love and creativity and romance. And in the West, we've never really given any credence to those ideas. We've just thought, that was just poetic license. I mean, even in the Bible mentions the word heart just under 1,000 times. And to us, it's just poetic license. But really, the heart is everything that those ancient peoples believed it to be. And now we're starting to understand that. And so when you've put up a wall around your heart to protect your heart from being totally broken at some point when you're being abused or you're deeply in grief or whatever, to keep your heart from breaking, the subconscious mind puts up this wall. And it's made of layers of your emotional baggage. And it's fascinating what happens when that wall is taken down. People who are suicidally depressed, I've seen them turn around in a matter of days from having that wall taken down. People who had sworn off love. In fact, let me share a story with you. A woman came in to see me one day when I was in practice, and she had really severe neck pain. It was about a 9 on a 0 to 10 scale. She'd seen a couple of other doctors for it. They hadn't been able to help her. And so as I was talking with her, she told me that she was a nurse. She was 38 years old, and that she was single. She hadn't dated in 8 years, and she was never, ever going to date again. She was going to die single. And I thought, gee, that's interesting. And I said, why do you feel that way? She said 8 years before, she was really in love with this guy who dumped her and broke her heart. And so I tested her and found she had put up a wall, a heart wall, okay? 3 emotional energies making up this wall, 3 layers. They all had to do with the breakup. So I cleared those 3 layers, and all of a sudden when I cleared the last one, which probably took about 6 or 8 minutes, when I cleared the last emotion, all of a sudden her neck pain was completely, totally gone, right? Neck pain sometimes is a side effect of having this heart wall. And so she left the office feeling totally fine. 3 months later, she walks back into my office, and and I immediately remembered her, and I said, "Hey, how are you? I haven't seen you for a while. What's going on?" She said, she said, "My neck has been fine since I was here, but," she said, "you cleared that heart wall from me."
She's
And that
dating
really
someone
worked.
now.
She said, about 2 weeks after I was here, I found out my childhood sweetheart has been living right around the corner from me for almost 8 years, and we're dating, and we're in love, and I think he's going to ask me to marry him. Right now, if you think about that, um, that's really what's driving this global success of the emotion code is stories like this, where people find out, oh my gosh, grandpa's back pain is gone, or uh, sister's pregnant, or brother's not depressed anymore. I mean, people are learning how to do this themselves, and they're learning that it's actually not difficult. It's actually really easy.
Now, a little note here about cellular memory. I read an article, I think it was in a YouTube video or something, about a couple and a husband committed suicide.
Yeah. Oh, I think I know the
You
story.
remember they changed the heart, give it to another husband, and he got married. They met together, and that
Yes.
man got his heart, and he committed suicide too.
Yeah, I remember the story really, really well. This happened right as I think it was in 2006, or sorry, yeah, around 2006 or so. I was writing the emotion code, and this made the news. What happened was this guy, I think he was 58 years old, needed a heart transplant. He got a heart transplant from a man who was in his 30s who had killed himself, shot himself in the head. And so when he gets out of the hospital, he's got a new lease on life, but he feels bad for the widow. And so he writes to the widow. And so for 2 years, they write letters back and forth. And then finally, they meet for the first time. And he said, when he saw her, he said, the moment I saw her, I could not take my eyes off of her. It was like I had known her all my life. They ended up getting married, the story, even though there was about a 30-year age gap. And they were married for, I believe it was 7 or 8 years. And then he killed himself, shot himself in the head. That story, right?
That's the cellular memory. It's crazy.
Amazing,
Oh my
right?
God.
I love these stories. There was a story about a 9-year-old girl who got a heart transplant from another young girl who had actually been murdered. And after the heart transplant was over, this little girl starts having nightmares every night. She has a nightmare that she's being killed. And her descriptions of the killer from her nightmares led to the arrest and conviction of the killer of the donor, because she was able to describe exactly what he was wearing and the murder weapon, everything. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Wow.
these stories.
Yeah. Now, one more question, then we're going to move to the body code book. How do you explain the rise in blood pressure? Half of population in the United States have a high blood pressure. How do you explain that? Is that connected to emotions or to the physical well-being?
So this is a great question. Let me explain it this way. What I found when I was in practice is that, first of all, as a former computer programmer, I always had a computer there with me in my office. And as I was finding imbalances in people's bodies, I was always trying to organize those. And I eventually created this big knowledge base. It was really a mind map of all these different imbalances. And what I found was there were really 6 different kinds of imbalances that people were suffering from. This is actually a copy of the body code book. And so these are the 6 different kinds of imbalances. And they're things like imbalances in the energy field. And these are things like trapped emotions and traumas and things. There are pathogens, infections, parasites, and things. Misalignments of any kind of tissue, nutritional deficiencies, things like that over here, lifestyle issues, toxins here, and then imbalances of the circuitry and the systems of the body. So these are the 6 categories. And so as I was working on people, and remember that what I'm doing eventually is I'm talking to the subconscious mind of each patient, trying to figure out, why do they have the symptoms that brought them into my office? And sometimes those symptoms were high blood pressure. Sometimes it was other things, physical issues. During the last 10 years that I was in practice, most of the people that I saw had been told there was really no hope for them at all. that they'd been cast off by the Western medical system. And so that they were told that they would never ever get well. Well, what does that mean? It means that there was no drug or surgery that could help them. So anyway, what I found was that this ancient idea that health is maintained or regained by maintaining or by regaining the state of balance in the body is absolutely true. And so what I found was that the more imbalances a person has in these 6 areas, the more likely they are to start having some kind of a symptom. And high blood pressure is a symptom, really. It's a symptom of various different things that can be going on in the body, underlying reasons. So in other words, the high blood pressure, you see, Western medicine looks at symptoms, and they see the symptom as the problem. But ultimately, you have to look at the symptoms as the communication. It's kind of like, so Sergey, if you're driving your car down the highway and your check engine light comes on, and you take a piece of tape and you stick it over that check engine light, well, that's not really going to help anything. It'll suppress the symptom, right? The symptom is the check engine light. And so that's kind of how Western medicine treats everything. They treat pretty much everything as a symptom, and they give all kinds of drugs and things for symptomatic relief. But the symptom is the body's way of communicating. Remember, the body's a binary computer. And so it uses symptoms as its form of communication to us that something is wrong. So, for example, I remember once I spoke at a fibromyalgia support group. And fibromyalgia is this syndrome where you get pain all over the body and the muscles, and there's no known cause and no known treatment for it. And it's kind of a hopeless thing. Well, I spoke at a hospital at this fibromyalgia support group once. And I remember that there was a woman sitting in the audience off to my right that was just cried the whole time I was speaking. Just had tears coming down, and when I was done speaking, she came up and was trying to talk to me along with a bunch of other people. And she was telling me that she'd seen 9 doctors during the 19 years that she'd been suffering from her fibromyalgia, and that they'd all told her the same thing, that you're never going to get well from this. Nothing can ever be done. You're going to have to die with this. You'll have it the rest of your life. And she cried every day because the pain was so severe. But part of the reason she was crying that day was because it was the first time that she'd ever heard a doctor say that there might actually be hope, that she might actually be able to get well. Well, this woman came into my office, and to give you an idea what was going on with her, if we look at this page, okay, she had all of the imbalances that you see on this page. She had toxins. Okay, I had to start detoxing her. She had imbalances of the circuits and systems. Most of the organs and glands in her body were out of balance, along with the meridians and the chakras. She had a lot of different trapped emotions and things. She had multiple different kinds of pathogens living in her body. She had lots of misalignments, and she had lots of nutritional deficiencies and things. So I had to address all those. Well, by addressing all of those simultaneously, as fast as we could, it only took about 3 weeks for her to be completely out of pain, except for it was her left thumb. She had some pain right here from some arthritic problems, but the rest of her pain was completely gone. Now, there are many, many people who would say that's impossible, but the reality of it is this is a whole new paradigm we're talking about. We're talking about actually asking the body itself what it needs. And this is the paradigm that is going to change the world, because so far we've just been throwing things at the body to see what sticks, right? And that's how it often is in medicine. Not to say that Western medicine doesn't do a lot of great things, but most of the time, most people don't need a drug, and most of the time, most people don't need surgery. They just need to figure out what their underlying blocks are. And that's what the body code and the emotion code are all about.
Okay, so basically, if you'd say you break your leg or something, got an accident, then definitely the medicine gonna help you. But if
Yeah.
it's something like blood pressure or emotions or even cancer, you have to reprogram your mind and start fixing all these 6 elements, 6 areas. and the body allow your body to heal itself.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. For example, when patients would come to see me when I was in practice, if they were dealing with cancer, anything can get well. Anything can heal. The problem with Western medicine is as advanced as it is, as great as it is in helping so many things, it's limited because it's limited to pharmaceuticals and surgery. And that's basically, if you look in a doctor's tool bag, that's about all he's got. But there are all of these other things. And really, it's time for us to realize that the body itself is a divine creation. And there is much, much wisdom within the body. It knows what it needs. And so that I really do believe this understanding is eventually going to change. It's going to change everything about how we take care of ourselves, because it has to. We have to evolve. We can't just keep poisoning the body and burning the body. The body is a divine creation, and it knows what it needs. And an example of that is a woman that came in to see me one day when I was in practice. She had been hospitalized for 5 days with this pain in her abdomen. They had run every test that they had, and all the tests were negative. And so finally, they released her from the hospital. They said they couldn't help her. And so she came in to see me, and she's on a 0 to 10 scale of pain. She's about a 9. So she's really in a lot of pain. So I used the body code and found some imbalances in those 6 areas. One of the things that I found that I thought was just an incidental finding was I was taken to an area. We have a chart of nutrients. And I was taken to this chart of nutrients by her subconscious mind, asking questions, getting answers. And I was taken to an element called chromium. And I thought, okay, chromium is great for blood sugar. And I thought, okay, this is something that she needs, but it obviously is not part of her problem. But I said, I told her, I said, it'd be a good idea for you to go and get some chromium at some point, because we usually carry it, but we're out of it right now. But I think you need some. And I kind of forgot about it. Well, I couldn't find anything else on her, so I sent her home. She's still in pain. The next day she comes back in, and now she's about a 10 on a 0 to 10 scale. And I thought, man, I don't know what to do here. So I started asking questions of her subconscious mind. And out of all the thousands of possibilities, I was taken to this nutrient chart, and I was taken right to chromium again. And only at that moment did I remember, oh yeah, wait, this showed up yesterday. And I said, you know what? I don't know why, but I said, I think your body really needs chromium. I want you to leave my office right now. Go down the street to the health food store, buy some chromium, ask for water, open it up, take some right there. Don't even wait. And then come back, and then we'll keep going. 20 minutes later, this woman, this very young athletic woman, is literally jumping up and down in my waiting room, Sergey. And she's saying, I'm fixed, I'm fixed. So that's a great example, right, of how the subconscious mind knows what it needs. And if you're asking the right questions, it can tell you, see?
Yeah, so what is the process? Excuse my ignorance, but I'm going to ask you, what's the process? How do you find the problems in the body by using the body code?
Well, in the book, the book is really the manual for the app. There's an app for the body code, but you can also use the book.
Okay.
See, what happened was by the time I was done putting all of this together and creating an app for it, software, it's a software app. It's called the Body Code System that you can download online.
Okay.
It's on App Store, Google Play. If we were to take everything that's in that app and put it into a book, the book would be about this thick. And so what happened was when I finished the manuscript for this book and I sent it into the publisher, they read it and they said, no. They said, what we really want is more of a how-to book, kind of like the Emotion Code teaches you how to do it. And because the initial manuscript that I had sent in for the body code was not a how-to, it was an overview that explained how it worked and everything, because there's the body code system, like I said, if we were to put everything in a book, it would be this thick. So they wanted me to turn it into a how-to book. And so that meant I had to rewrite it. And I started thinking about what I could do. And at first I was, just dismayed. And then I started to realize, well, what we could do is because they had given me a certain number of pages. They said, you can't go beyond this number of pages too. And so I thought, well, I can't possibly put everything into this book then, but they want me to teach people how to do it. So what I'll do is I'll teach people how to do it, and we'll actually include how it works, and we'll give them a lot of the greatest hits, the biggest, most common imbalances that we find. Mm-hmm. So the way that this works is this, okay? And you can use the book, and you can actually get results using the book. So for example, here we have these 6 imbalances, right? So let's say, for example, that you're dealing with migraines or something. What we would do is we would start to ask questions, and we could muscle test you for the yes or no answers, or we can do those ourselves at a distance either way. And we would start to ask, okay, is there an underlying reason for your headaches? Maybe there is. And if there is, then the subconscious mind will guide us, and we'll ask, okay, is this imbalance, this first one, is it on the left side of the chart or the right side? And maybe it's on the left side of the chart, and maybe it's in the energies area. So then there's a page number right there, okay? And so then what we do is we turn to that section in the book, energies. And if we go to the next page, we've got some options now. We've got post-traumatic energies here. We've got emotional energies and offensive and allergies and things. So we ask, well, which one of these is it? Is it one of these on the left? No. Okay, it's on the right. Is it one of these? Maybe it's a post-traumatic energy, and that's on page 117. So then what we do is we turn to that page in the book. The app is easier, because you're just touching things. But let's say that we find you've got one of these imbalances. So this kind of an imbalance happens when you receive some kind of a physical blow. So let me tell you how this one came about. Actually, I was in practice one day. A man comes in to see me. He's 42 years old, and he was in a car accident 4 years before. And he said that his neck, which was on a 0 to 10 scale, was about a 9. He said his neck still hurt like the day after the accident, and he'd seen a couple of other doctors for this. They haven't been able to help him. And so I thought, wow, that's kind of weird. So my habit was to ask for help from up above. God, I felt, had gotten me into this whole thing, and so it was a totally private, personal habit. But I just kind of had this thought: okay, Father, help me to understand if there's something I need to know about here. This seems kind of strange. And this answer flowed into me. And the answer was that in the accident, he was rear-ended at a stoplight. In the accident, some of that kinetic energy that was produced when that other car hit his car was actually stuck in his neck. Some of that energy was stuck in his neck. And I thought, oh, that's weird. And I released that by swiping a few times down his back. And then I said, okay, move your neck around. And he looks around, and he said, wow, how'd you do that? And I said, well, how does it feel? He said, well, I'd say it's about a 2 on a 0 to 10. And I said, well, when's the last time it felt that good? And he said, oh, before the accident. So let's say that this is something that we find. Well, in the book here, what happens is it explains these different kinds of things, these imbalances. And then there's an exercise here that takes you through the actual steps of releasing that imbalance. And so in this same way, what we can do is we can find whatever kinds of imbalances that might be going on in the body, okay? And that is how this is done. And it's actually a simple process, but that's basically how it works. The subconscious is a binary computer, and so it can only answer yes or no. But as long as you know how to ask the questions, the subconscious mind can take you right to something very quickly.
So this book is like a manual. If you go through, you just follow the manual and follow the directions, and you can heal yourself.
Yeah, exactly right. If you want, I can. I've got. If you want me to share my screen here, I've got it. I can show people more about this if you want.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Let's see if I can do this. Let's see, share. So and share screen. Here we go. All right, so this is what the body code looks like on my laptop, okay? And so we have these 6 different areas. And so really what the body code does, it provides an interface really, or a kind of a platform so that your subconscious mind can give you answers about things. So for example, in fact, Sergey, if you want, we can do this on you if you'd like to. And if you have any particular kind of issue that you want to try to address, we can see what shows up.
Let's see the blood pressure.
Okay, blood pressure. All right, let's take a look at that. So let's ask, now, first of all, how we do this is we like to take a moment and ask for help from up above. Okay, that opens up that channel for us, and that makes it easier to receive those whisperings and things that can really help. So give me just a moment here. All right, so let's see here, Sergey. All right, now I'm going to be using what we call the ring in ring method of testing, which looks like this. Basically, if I take the thumb on each hand and I make a ring with a finger and we put those two rings together, okay, I can ask questions and get answers because the rings will stay together for yes, or they'll break apart for no. And there's a principle in quantum physics called entanglement, and that's where energies can become entangled at vast distances, at least as great as the diameter of the Earth, but undoubtedly even much further than that. And what we can do is we can check to see if our energies are now entangled, and I get a yes. So I can act as proxy essentially for you. I can ask questions and get answers on my own body. So let's ask, is there an underlying reason for the blood pressure that you've been talking about, the high blood pressure? Yeah. I get a yes answer. So now what the subconscious mind has is a specific reason in mind. And so, or a specific imbalance. So what is that first imbalance? And I have no idea. Is it on the right side of the body code chart here? No, it's on the left side then. So is it in the energies area? It definitely is. So we'll go there. So we've got out of these 6 possibilities, your subconscious mind has narrowed it down to this one, energies. So we'll go there. So now we have 6 other possibilities that appear. We've got post-traumatic energies, offensive energies, mental energies. We've got allergies or intolerances or emotional energies or reverberations. So let's take a look and see what are we after here? Is it something on the left side of this page? No. Is it an allergy or an intolerance? Is it something emotional? It's definitely something emotional. So we'll go there. All right. Is it something on the left side of this page? Yes. Is it a trapped emotion? No. It's a heart wall emotion. So you have a heart wall. We talked about the heart wall a little bit. And so what we can do is we can ask, can we release the trapped emotion from your heart wall now? And the answer is yes. And is this first emotion on the left side of this page? No. Is it a common heart wall emotion? It is. So we'll just go to our emotion code chart here. And so what we're looking at now is we have the emotion code chart up, which of course you can Google and find there's millions of these out there. But it's 60 emotions divided into a chart made up of 2 columns and 6 rows. Now your subconscious mind knows exactly what this first emotion is. I don't consciously, and neither do you, but your subconscious knows, and my subconscious is connected to yours. So what emotion is this? Is it listed in the chart here in column A? And that's a no. Okay, so I'm getting a weakness here, testing my hands. So that means it's in column B. So is it in one of the odd rows in column B? I get a strong answer. That's a yes. Is it in row 1 in column B? That's a yes. So we've narrowed it down to these 5 emotions. Okay, effort unreceived, heartache, insecurity, overjoy, or vulnerability. So which one is it? Is it effort unreceived? No. Is it heartache? Yes. It's the emotion of heartache. So basically what we're trying to do here is we're trying to close an open loop that exists in your mind body, okay, about this particular emotional experience. So one of the questions, the next question that we have to ask is, do we need to know more about this? You see, sometimes the subconscious mind will want more information brought to conscious awareness about an emotional loop that's trying to be closed. The subconscious might decide, you need to know when this happened, or you need to know what this was about. In this case, do we need to know more about this? And the answer is yes. So let's go back. We'll ask, did this occur earlier than age 30? No. It happened between 30 and 40? No. Between 40 and 50? Yes. Between 40 and 45? No. Around 46, 47, around 48 or 49? Okay. It's strong around age 49. Okay. And the emotion is heartache. So if you think for a moment about what was going on, and by the way, these are accurate when we go back like this, it's accurate within a year, give or take. It's probably you were 49, but you might have chronologically been 48 in your 49th year, or you might have even been 50. But there was something that you went through around that time where you were feeling that emotion of heartache, which can be a physical sensation, right? Something that was difficult around that time. Now, there are a lot of things, we experience a lot of emotions, every day, month after month, year after year. And so, sometimes people don't remember. Yeah. So what your subconscious mind is saying is that there was something that you went through. There was an emotion of heartache that you went through that was powerful. Either that, or maybe you just didn't want to go there and you stuffed it. But it was right around that age, 49. Might have been about a relationship. Usually heartache is about relationships more than anything else. So what we can do is we can ask if we need to know more about this, and the answer is no. So what I'm going to do to release this now is I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take one hand and I'm going to put it right in the middle of my forehead. And I'm going to then just pass my hand over the top of my head to the back of my neck once, twice, 3 times. Okay. And that will release that emotional energy. Did we release that? Yep. So that released from you. So that was the first thing that showed up. Now, and that was showing up about as an underlying cause of the blood pressure, right? So how the body code works is once you clear something, you go back to the home page and then you ask again, all right, is there another underlying reason why you've been having this symptom of high blood pressure? Yes, there's another reason. What's the reason? Is it on the right side of the chart? Yes. Is it a pathogen? No. Is it a misalignment? Yes, it's a misalignment of something. So we'll click there on the misalignment picture. So now that brings up 6 other possibilities, including meridians and chakras and the skeleton and etc. So let's look at this and let's ask, all right, your subconscious mind is taking us to this specific misalignment. What is it? Is it on the left side of our chart here? No. It's on the right side. Is it in the skeleton? Yes. So if we click on the picture of the skeleton, it takes us to another page where now we're looking at 2 pictures of the skeleton, where one is the appendicular skeleton with the, the upper and lower limbs that are highlighted. And then the other one is the axial skeleton, which is everything else. And where do we need to go? Appendicular or axial. So we go to the one on the right. And this includes, of course, the vertebral column and the teeth, the thoracic cage, the skull, etc. So there's something going on here. Something's out of balance. And I don't know what it is. Something's misaligned. But is it something on the right side? No. Left side? Yes. Is it in the vertebral column? No. It's the bone in the skull. So we click on the picture of the skull. We've got 8 possibilities here. We've got all the bones of the skull. So let's take a look here. Is it one of these on the left side? No, it's on the right. Is it the frontal bone? No. Is it one of the parietal bones or temporal bone? No, it's the occipital bone. So the occipital bone is the bone that's right at the very back of the skull, right at the very back, right at the base of the skull. Okay, right in here. And this is probably the most commonly, well, I'd say definitely the most commonly misaligned bone in the skull. The skull is a fascinating thing. It expands and contracts very slightly, about 12 times a minute. And all of these bones join together, and there's slight movement that goes on, but sometimes the bone will get stuck to where it's not moving. It's not respiring normally. It's not able to open or close like it's supposed to. That's what's happening here. So this bone we'll say is misaligned. And usually if there's a misalignment, we have found there is usually another underlying cause of that misalignment. And that's what's happening here. So there's something associated with this. We'll go back to the home page and find out what's causing this. Is it on the left side? Yes. Is it an energy? Yes, it is. Okay. So we'll click on that one. Is it on the left side? Yes. Is it something post-traumatic? Yes. Is it on the left side? Yes. Is it a physical trauma? So some kind of a physical trauma energy. So there's some kind of a blow that you took at some point. And in the body code, you'll see there's an explanation of whatever it is you found. And then there's an area that we call decoding, where you're able to find out more about this. And we can ask, do we need to identify more about this energy? And we do. So let's figure out when this occurred. Did this happen earlier than age 30? Yes. Earlier than 20? Yes. Earlier than 10? No. So between 10 and 20, something happened to you, some kind of a physical blow. Was it between 10 to 15, around 16 or 17, or 18 or 19? It's around age 19. You might have been 18, maybe 20, but probably around age 19. Some kind of a physical blow that you took. Does that ring any kind of a bell at all?
Yeah, I was in the army, in the Soviet army, in the
Wow.
first 6 months. It was really, really gruesome. It was bad.
Yeah. Yep. And if I ask, is that what created this? I get a yes. And so your subconscious mind is saying, well, this is part of the reason now why you're manifesting this high blood pressure, right? This is a reason for that symptom. And so, is there anything else that we need to decode here? Not really. So I'm going to release this now. I'm releasing this physical trauma energy. Okay. And it just takes 3 swipes. And again, I'm going from the forehead over the top of my head to the back of my neck for those that are just listening. And now let's ask, did we release that? I get a yes that we did. All right. Now, all right, cool. Now, you might actually want to stand up and maybe just walk around a little bit and just notice, just tune into your body and notice if you feel any shift from that, because you might. The reason I like to have people walk around a little bit is because when you release something like this, things move around, things shift in the body. And so sometimes that's actually noticeable right away. All right. So now let's ask, is there another underlying reason why you've been dealing with these symptoms? There is actually another reason. You want to do one more?
Sure.
All right. So this next underlying reason, would it be on the right side of our chart here or on the left? So on the left side, is it something in energies? No. Is it in circuits or systems? No. It's actually a toxin. So let's go here to toxins. And is it something on, and there's actually 8 selections here, 8 possibilities. Everything from dental toxins to drugs, environmental things, heavy metals, and so on. Is this something on the left side of this page? Yes. Is it a dental toxin of some kind? No. Is it a biological poison or some kind of a food toxin or a drug? So it's some kind of a drug. So is recreational or pharmaceutical? Is it recreational? No. Some kind of pharmaceutical drug. Is it on the left side, right side? So it's actually a vaccine of some kind. Now, most of us have had some kind of vaccine. A lot of people have had the COVID vaccines. A lot of us have had the vaccines, as kids and so on. But it's interesting how often they show up for people. Even if they haven't had any recently, they can show up, from childhood. So what we can do with this, a vaccine is ultimately, even though we think of it as of a chemical and so on, and adjuvants and so on. Really, if you get down to it on a quantum level, it's all energy. And so the energy from a vaccine is how we're interpreting this. And do we need to know any details about this? I get a no. Is there anything associated? Not really. So I'm just going to swipe a few times to release the energy of this toxin from the body, while at the same time directing your body to remove this toxin through its normal channels. Okay. And that also is part of the reason, according to your subconscious mind, why you're dealing with blood pressure issues. Now let's ask, is there another underlying reason for the blood pressure issues? Right now I'm getting a no. Now that means one of 2 things. It either means no, there's never any other issue that's going to show up, or it might mean, well, that's all we can do right now. There might be something that might show up in a day or so.
Yeah, amazing. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. Well, actually just demonstrating it is a picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
Yeah. One more question. 2021, 2 years ago, I developed tinnitus. Just came out of the blue. Sometimes it's loud, like right now it's loud. I don't know what's the cause of it. I'm curious. Maybe you have an idea. I know everywhere they say it's incurable and forget about it, but I believe that everything is curable for some reason. So,
well, why don't we take a look and see what shows up? We're still hooked up.
Okay.
So let's ask. So here we have the body code, and let's ask: is there? And so you're saying it's on the right side mainly?
No, it's like in the back. It's all around like that. It's like a whistle, but it's all around.
Okay. So let's ask about this, because your subconscious mind knows if there's a reason for this.
Yeah.
And so, is there an underlying reason why you're having this tinnitus? Yes. Okay, that's a strong answer. So we'll look at our chart. Is it something on the left side of the chart? Yes. Is it an energy of some kind? It is. So we'll go there. And is it something on the left side of this page? No. Is it an allergy or an intolerance? Is it something emotional or a reverberation? So it's what we call a reverberation. So when I click on that one, it opens up 6 different possibilities. And let's see what this is. Is it one of these on the left side? No. Is it an organ communication? No. Is it an emotional reverberation? So this is what we call an emotional reverberation. And what's interesting about this is that you'll notice we use a picture of a bell. And the idea there is that if you were to take a hammer and you were to walk up to a big bell and hit it, bong, it'd ring for a while. And if you came back an hour later, it wouldn't be ringing anymore. But your dog might actually hear that it is still ringing, but very, very slightly, right? It's still resonating. So this is an emotional energy that has gotten into your body that is that's ringing still in your body that we need to release. And so let's see what it is. Is it in column A? No. It's in column B. Is it in one of the odd rows? Is it in row 1 or 3 or 5? It's in row 5 in column B. So it's one of these emotions. So is the emotion conflict, or is it creative insecurity? And those are no. So is it terror? No. Is it unsupported or wishy-washy? Okay, so all of those are negative. And that means this is an inherited thing. So is this inherited? I get a yes. So in other words, at conception, you got this from somebody else, either mom or dad, and they might have gotten it from, it could go back always. Let's find out. Did this come from your mother? Yes. Did she get it from somebody earlier? Yes. From her mother? Yes. Does it go back even further? Yes. How many generations from you does it go back? Does it go back for 10 generations? Yes. 15, 20, 16, 15 generations exactly. So if we say 15 generations times about 30 years for a generation, that's 450 years, or in other words, about 1573, give or take. What's the emotion? Is it conflict or creative insecurity or terror? It's an emotion of terror. Now, do we need to know anything else about this? We don't. So let's go ahead and release this. So I'll start in the forehead here, and we'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We do 10 swipes if it's an inherited energy like this. And so what I would like you to do now is just, maybe open and close your jaw a little bit. Open wide, move your neck around left and right a little bit, tilt your head up and down. And let's see how the ringing is now compared to how it was feeling before.
It's still there.
Okay. Well, sometimes these kinds of things take a little time, to dissipate.
Sometimes, I'm telling you, sometimes I get up and I forget about it. And then I say, hold on a second. I can hear the tinnitus, sometimes it's loud. So it might disappear tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah, sometimes it goes away immediately.
Yeah.
And tinnitus is one of those things that, it can be a little bit tricky. But let's ask, is there another underlying reason for the tinnitus? No, I'm getting a no. So you'll have to let me know how you do, okay?
Okay, I will. Do I have to do the swipes too, or just?
No.
Okay, all right.
Nope, you're all done. So when we release something like this, it's gone permanently. Okay, that imbalance is gone permanently, like a trapped emotion, or in that case, that resonance.
Well, I already feel my blood pressure is normal. I can hear the tinnitus, but I believe tomorrow morning is going to be beautiful. I'm going to hear the birds outside, the crickets tonight.
There are underlying reasons for things, and you never know what they're going to be. But usually, it's not a deficiency of some kind of a petrochemical pharmaceutical drug.
Now, let me ask you this: how can people find more about you, about your work, about your books and stuff like that? If you'd like to share.
Well, our main website is at discoverhealing.com. Discoverhealing.com, and on Discover Healing, people can find out information about practitioners. They can find someone to work with them. They can find out about certification if they're interested in becoming certified. We have lots of videos, thousands and thousands of testimonials on the site. My own personal blog page is at drbradleynelson.com. That's drbradleynelson.com. And that page is kind of where I share more about my personal beliefs and things.